the truth has been revealed as to why Don Sweeney and Cam Neely have chosen Marco Sturm to be the next head coach of the Boston Bruins. In this video, we're going over the evidence which shows why this is the best decision they could have made and why this fit is phenomenal for the Boston Bruins. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of news here to cover after the signing. We've been waiting for this for a couple weeks now. I made a video on this morning. Now we have the real reason as to why this happened here. And kind of a bit touching on a little bit of everything we've touched on. But this is a more important piece and really goes to show why this signing was a needed one as the head coach of the Boston Bruins. We're going to jump into all of this here very quickly. Before we do, though, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. Over 70% of you guys watching right now are not done so already. And like I said, we had a lot of stuff to cover, and this is just the beginning. We got a big offseason ahead of us, and we have to get it covered. We'll have it here first for all of you guys. But let's get into this here. First, starting off with the official announcement. Of course, for those who missed it, Boston Bruins have signed Marco Sturm. He is coming home. He's been named the 30th head coach of the Boston Bruins. Now, this was one that I think we could fairly say was all what we wanted. We wanted to see Marco Sturm. We saw some other candidates. Were they as good? Not really. Marco Sturm's fit was one that I feel like we really saw come into frame as the candidates started to come and go, and Marco Sturm's really remained. Now, the first part I want to pull up as to go a bit back into what he's done with the Ontario Reign, the farm system of the LA Kings. When you go and look at his stats there with those teams, 42, 43, and 23-25 respectively. Had some great seasons there, of course, and the big part of this is, and this is what I've been mentioning throughout these videos, is who he's been coaching on those teams and where they are now. It is eerily similar to what the Boston Bruins are going through and what they will be going through over the next few seasons. And I do have the evidence here in this video. I took the deep dive here, ladies and gentlemen. I went into it all for you guys here. And let's take a look at this. Now, this is the first season, I believe. These are both seasons, I guess we could say, that we saw him. This is the 23-24 and 22-23 seasons for this team, when there was a lot of these younger LA Kings players, and they were trying to develop into who they are now. So, when you go in the first year, you see some names. Samuel Fagemo, Akil Thomas, Brant Clark, Alex Turcotte, Francisco Pinelli, Samuel Hellenius, many, many names here. This is actually the most recent season. I have the next one, his first season with the Ontario Reign in the next image. But as you can see here, and what is very noticeable on the right-hand side of this graphic is the ages of a lot of these players. These teams were super young. These Ontario Reign teams were super young, and we're starting to see a lot of these players now come into this whole LA Kings system, go through the ranks, come up into the Kings roster, and become stars. Quinton Byfield's the name right now that we're going to jump into again in the next image that really has jumped into the player that we all thought he would be. He took a bit of time to get there, but Marco Sturm brought that out in him, and that's one thing that, the way we're looking at it and the way that we're looking at how the Bruins are going to be affected by this is exactly what they needed. So, of course, this was not the most recent season, but the season before this one for that Ontario Reign team. Now, when we go and look at this first season with the Ontario Reign, Elias Anderson, Jordan Spence, Samuel Fagemo once again, Alex Turcotte, Quinton Byfield, Samuel Hellenius once again, Tobias Bjornfoot. Majority, if not all of those guys right now are on the LA Kings and are key assets, key pieces of that team, being as solid as they are and are going to be in some deep playoff runs in the next few years. I'm very confident in saying that, and that is, once again, thanks to Marco Sturm. He built that roster. Of course, the GMs of those teams, the drafting, was a good job there. But they didn't come out ready to go right away. They needed to be developed. They needed to be here. And some more names that, aren't listed here. Arthur Kaliev is another one that I've mentioned in previous videos. But when you go and look at the points as well, you see Quinton Byfield's first year, 16 games, 15 points. Didn't have the best NHL start, but now we see he's an elite player back up at that front side. And now, I want to pull up these. Of course, we're looking at this. Once again, the age is still very, very young. But now I want to compare this to the Boston Bruins, where we currently stand on this. So I do have a few screenshots here of where this kind of translates to the Ontario Reign, to the Providence Bruins and Boston Bruins, and what Marco Sturm is going to do with those. So with the first one here, looking at some of these are the ones that, I feel like we've kind of been able to see for the past few seasons, apart from Dean Letourneau, who is the most recent acquisition here, I believe. I could be wrong there, but on a couple months or so. But Mason O'Brien, Fabian Lysell, Dean Letourneau, Georgi Merkelov, Oscar Yelvik, John Farinacci, Brett Harrison. What is one thing that everybody right now watching this video thinks of these guys in common. They have not yet, apart from Mason Lohrei, I'll keep that in mind, has not had NHL success yet or had an opportunity. Dean Lortano very much struggled in Boston College this year. I can't remember the exact point total, but it was on one hand. You can count how many it was. Not a great start. He's going to be one player that needs a lot of development, and I think that's a big thing for Marco Sturm to come into this lineup and do. But guys like Georgi Merklov, Fabian Lysell, John Farinacci, those are 3 players I've spoken about throughout this entire season and more about how they need to get in this lineup, they need to be developed, or they will be wasted talents, and if not, they need to be traded. This, to me, from, just my kind of standpoint of watching the Bruins for the past few years, tells me that a guy like Marco Sturm was brought in by Don Sweeney and Cam Neely to get these guys into the lineup, to make this lineup a lot younger, but get these younger guys ready to play in this lineup. And I got another few ones here, and of course, we're missing a lot of players here now, especially after what we'd seen Don Sweeney do in last year's trade deadline. So, Will Zeller's the recent acquisition. They do not want to mess him up. He is one of their, if not actually, their number 1 prospect right now. I believe he actually is number 1. He's coming in to this whole system. In a couple of years, of course, he's playing with Green Bay this year and then going to, I believe it was University of North Dakota to play hockey. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I cannot recall at this moment. But he's a player that you don't want to mess up. Dan Zachmel is coming to this lineup out of UMass. He's another player that is very, very solid and may need that little extra step to get into, a rhythm in the NHL. And you see there, 12 points in 6 games with Providence. He was off to a hot start. So, getting these guys into this lineup, getting things right and having it set is exactly what we need to see. Some more names, of course, Ryan Walsh, Ty Gallagher, Frederick Bruno, Loke Johansson, Fraser Minton. There's so many more that now we kind of see come up here from these recent acquisitions. Names starting to emerge, and I think that we're getting Marco Sturm to really bring all of these names kind of out of the bushes and out of hiding, and thinking what the possibilities could be right now. I do have one more, once again, that we have not touched on, of course, going in through the Fraser Minton, Matthew Poitras, Fabian Lysell, Dalton Bancroft, Cole Spicer, Dean Letourneau, Brett Harrison, Marat Tuzadinov, another very, very interesting one from the Wild. Didn't get the opportunity there, but another one that really seems like he could be a perfect fit from, the European guys for Marco Sturm, Oscar Yelvik, Riley Tufte, William Zellers, Jacob Lauko. Lauko's been on the older side here, but you get the gist of where we're coming from this. So, when we're looking at Marco Sturm as a whole for the next few years, not just as not as, a instant coach to come in here. His development will be a big part. What he can do to the current players will be a big part. We know that the Bruins have quite a few European players, and European coaches, European players really work well in the NHL. It's just kind of a weird trend that we've always been able to see, and this really, to me, sets us off on the right foot for this offseason. We know we have big moves coming. We know that we're going to have a lot of interesting things now when it comes down to how this team is planning on building, and I'm very excited to see not just how Marco Sturm can take over this team here in this offseason, get things underway with him, but also, number 2, how he comes into this lineup, how he commands this lineup, and how he builds his staff with this. Because, this is going to be a big one. A big decision to make. Whether or not it's going to be his decision yet, we still don't know, but one more note before we finish this video off here. Don't have the screenshot, but Tuesday of next week is when Marco Sturm is talking to the media, getting his intro press conference. So we will be getting a lot more information then. I'll be here to break it down for you. Be sure to stick around to the channel. If you're waiting for that and all of the other Bruins news that we're going to have here in this offseason, I'll have it here for you guys right away. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. But I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.